Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing theories on how the BBC sitcom Ghosts will end, because unfortunately season 5 will be the last season of Ghosts. I did do a video previously on kind of like my reaction to the news that Ghosts was ending, and I talked about a few of the theories there, but I wanted to do a bigger video talking about loads of different theories, mainly about how Ghosts will end, like how they will resolve the show, and then maybe dive into a couple of extra things as well. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. There are quite a lot of theories going about online, and yeah, there's lots of different theories to keep track of, so it's not going to be a discussion of every theory that there is, but hopefully I will cover quite a lot. The first one is that by the end of series 5, all of the ghosts will have moved on. And this one I do think is fairly likely. I think we're definitely going to get some ghosts moving on. I think a nice one would be for Robin to move on, but I think if anything, he is going to be the one that stays. I think out of all of the characters, he has had the least development, but not in a bad way. He's been there for like 1,000 years or however long. Like, he is who he is. He's found peace with being a ghost, and he's the one that is, I feel like, is just a staple of Button House and the land. And he has just been doing his own thing for thousands of years, and I think that's a really wonderful thing, and I don't necessarily seeing moving on as a big point for him. If anything, it's just, again, like finding just things to do while being a ghost, and I think his character is really wonderful, and that's a really special thing for his character. Like, I think when we meet all of the ghosts, even though Robin seems like the most primitive, he is in fact the most like developed at the point, whereas all of the other ghosts have issues that they need to work through, whereas yeah, Robin doesn't necessarily have that. He has some things, like he's afraid of like bears and whatnot, but like he is himself, and he is comfortable in himself, and he's comfortable being a ghost, and I think that's a really nice thing. Do I think there are going to be some ghosts moving on? Yes, I think maybe the captain, just because there is a big like pinnacle thing that will happen hopefully in series 5, and that will be him coming to terms with the sexuality. That is a big kind of like thing that would, once it's resolved, would allow him to move on to the afterlife, and that I think will happen in series 5. I think it should happen in series 5. So I definitely think he is the one that's most likely to move on. Yeah, he's like the one that I don't want him to move on at all, and if it does happen, it better happen in the last episode, but I do think he is the one that is most likely to move on. Just as I said, he's got something very clear that he needs to overcome, and very clear that he needs to resolve in his life, and I think that is what will eventually move him on from being a ghost. Do I think all of the ghosts are going to move on as like one grand thing at the end? I think it would be a nice ending, but I don't think it's going to happen. As I said, I think each of the ghosts have a purpose, and I don't see their purpose all being resolved at the same time, allowing them to move on, unless that purpose has something to do with Alison. But yeah, I don't necessarily see them all moving on, but I definitely think we're going to see some. Something that would be quite nice would be maybe like a little montage thing of all the ghosts moving on when they eventually do. I'm hoping the last episode will be about like an hour long, so we get like a really, really nice closure to it. So I do think that we might see the ghosts move on one by one, and the different points in their lives and different points of the world that they're in, and what happens in Button House, what Button House looks like when they all move on. So I think that would be something that's really an interesting thing that they could do. But yeah, that's my theory. Personally, I just don't see Robin moving on, and I don't really think he has much of a desire to do so. It's really sad that he does live, and he is in this state where he is seeing everybody move on around him, but he doesn't seem too upset or scared by it. He just sees it as a part of like being, and I think it's really nice. But I do want him to have friends. I don't want him to be alone. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that theory. So series 5 is following the plot of Alison and Mike deciding what to do with Button House, because they're at their wits' end with it, and it's going to be them deciding what to do with it. A big theory is that they are going to leave Button House, whether this be that they sell the house or do something like that. The theory is that they're going to leave Button House. I don't want this to happen. I think that would be really, really sad. I feel like they belong at Button House. I don't see them really going anywhere, because we've seen, like, if we think about the first season where they looking at other places to live once they've got a bit more money, and Alison is just seeing ghosts everywhere. It's something that she can't really escape, and I feel like moving away to different places will just be adding to this, like, almost like trauma, like, of just meeting all these people who have had lots of struggles in their life and helping them overcome it. Unless she decides that is going to be her mission, she's going to try and move on as many ghosts as she can, help them kind of like resolve their issues. That'd be quite nice. But personally, I don't really see them leaving Button House. I could see them potentially having to sell Button House, but I think there might be like a clause in it where she gets to live in like a little part of the house. One thing that I think would be really quite nice to do is if they kind of like made Button House a charity or a trust to like preserve the house or something like that, and Alison has like an office there or something like that, because firstly that links it to the real world Button House, West Horsey Place, and a lot of things they've taken a lot of inspiration from the real life building and its history. So I feel like it would be quite a nice way of honouring what's actually happened to the house, because it has become a trust and they are doing a lot of like preservation work on it, which is really nice. And I feel like that could be a nice way of linking it to the Button House in the show, because it's obviously falling in disrepair, but there's so much unique history in it that it would be a shame for it to just be sold on to somebody who's going to renovate it and rip away all that history. So it would be a really nice touch to have it be preserved, and yeah, have a clause in there that Alison gets to be in Button House and see the ghosts quite regularly. I think that would be really nice. And especially because she does have, like, maybe she could be like a tour guide or something, especially because she does have such a unique knowledge of the house and its history. And I think that would just be a really nice thing that I would like to see. Another big theory that I've talked about before is that Alison and Mike are going to have a child, and that will influence the plot a bit. I did say in my last video that I'm not 100% sold on this theory now, because we now know that we're only going to have one season. Whereas before, when I was thinking we'd have one or two, I thought there'd be a really nice plot line of, you know, Alison finding out, and you can just imagine what the ghost would be like if Alison is pregnant, and then also having the baby and the baby getting to see the ghosts. I think that would be a lovely plot line, but I don't think, if we're thinking, you know, we've got 6 episodes, I don't think they've got really enough time to pull it off. I think it'd be a really interesting plot as kind of like a last episode, or what happens in like the penultimate episode, and then the final episode is kind of like a little bit of like a closure episode, and we see where their lives go from there. And yeah, I think that would be a really nice plotline to have. It'd be really nice to see Alison and Mike's child seeing the ghosts. Yeah, I want it to happen, but I'm not 100% sure how they would fit it all in to the final season, although they do manage to cram a lot in. So I don't know, maybe it's something they definitely can do. I have faith in the writers, so they could probably pull it off if they wanted to. The next theory is that Alison will lose her power to see ghosts, and I don't know how they could do this. Maybe she hits her head again. I know in the CBS Ghost they kind of like played with that a little bit with that idea. Again, I hope that doesn't happen. I think if it did happen, that would give them a point to leave the house. That wouldn't be my favourite way to end the season. I would prefer the ghosts to move on, rather than Alison lose the ability to see them, because I think it's just such a unique thing, and I think there's so much stuff they could do in terms of, like, you know, her having a child, and does the power pass on to the child, and also like just how it would impact later life and everything like that. You know, like, does like doctors think she's crazy because she's talking about all these ghosts, or is she there like telling her children or her grandchildren about all these things that are going on, and they kind of write it off as silly, but like deep down, like, you know, she knows it's true. And I think it would just be really nice to just see her in like old age talking with the ghosts who are still young. I think that's a really nice image, and I think it'd just be really nice to see. So yeah, I really hope that doesn't happen. A theory that links to this as well is that Mike will gain the ability to see ghosts. Again, I think the series is going to end with Mike never seeing the ghosts, because even though I would really like him to, I see him as never having seen the ghosts. It's just one of those things, like a sitcom, there's always one like consistent thing, and I feel like that in Ghost is that Mike cannot see any of the ghosts. So I feel like it fits quite nicely. It would be nice to see them. I don't know how. I would like, again, I've kind of talked about how I would like him to get like a Ouija board out and mess around with that, or do some more like ghosts conjuring things and get to at least communicate with them in some way. I think that would be really nice, because I really liked it with the Bump in the Night episode where they were writing things on the mirror so that Mike could read them and work out what was happening. I thought that's one of my favourite episodes. So I would like to have more interaction between Mike and the ghosts, and I would love him to see them, but personally I don't think it's going to happen. One thing I would like to happen is that Alison, this could be again another way where how they decide to make money, or how they decide to preserve the history of Button House, is I would like to see them, like Alison, like write a book about Button House, and this would then link to the Button House Archives, which is the book that is being released by the creators as like a companion book to the series, which will give us like extra little tidbits into every ghost's lives and all these different things. So that's really exciting, and so I feel like they could link the book to the show in some way, as Alison compiling all these things that she's learned to like sell it off. Maybe she tries to like sell it as a fiction thing, something like that, I don't know. Or maybe she just goes on and be like, yep, I'm just going to tell everybody I can see ghosts, and sets about like, I don't know, trying to prove that ghosts are real, and she releases this book. And I feel like it would just be really nice, even if it's not a like publication thing. I would just really like, I think it's really nice if she could like maybe sit down, put together this like collage-y book thing about all the things about the ghosts. It's kind of like, you know, an advanced version of Mike's like ghost board. So I would really like that. I think it'd just be really nice, and it'd be good to link it to the companion book. One thing that I think might happen is, and I've seen people talk about this theory as well, is that we'll have some sort of like flash forward to the future. And this kind of fits into my idea of the last episode being this massive round off episode, kind of like what we saw with like The Good Place. If you've seen The Good Place, like one episode dedicated to telling us what happens to everybody in the future. So I love episodes like that. I think it's a great way of ending a season of a television show. So this theory is that we'll have a flash forward to the future, and either, and I think probably both eventually, either Mike or Alison will pass away and either become a ghost or just move on. Personally, I don't see either Alison or Mike staying as a ghost, because I want them to live until old age, and we don't necessarily see ghosts that have died of just purely natural causes stay as a ghost. So I want them to pass on naturally and go on to heavens, even though I'd love to see them stay with the ghosts. But the way I kind of imagine it, I don't know who would go first. Maybe Alison, and that's why Alison makes this book for Mike to guide to dealing with the ghosts, maybe, and stuff that she'll do to like, so to get them to like confirm whether or not she's a ghost or not, you know, things like that. Oh my god, I'm getting emotional now. And then eventually we'll see Mike pass on, and he will, you know, become like, kind of what we saw in the first episode, where he passes away and then sees all the ghosts because they're like standing around him, and he's like, oh, and he's like pointing at them all, and then eventually moves on. And I think that would be such a nice way, such a very, very sad way, but a very emotional way to end the series. But I think it would be really nice for closure. It would be very, very sad, and I kind of don't want them to do it, but I think that would, just be a nice way to end it. There could be ways that we could have the ghosts, like let's say Mike, for example, becoming a ghost, and then that way he kind of like stays with Alison forever, and they kind of have like a ghostly relationship or something. That I think would be really sweet, but again, I don't want Mike to die like young or anything like that. I don't want that to happen, especially because there's a difference between the ghosts seeing these humans grow old and eventually pass away, but there'd be something just quite heartbreaking about a partner seeing their alive partner like grow old and live their lives almost without them, but they'll still have them there. I think the idea of having a like exploring the idea of like a human ghost relationship is quite an interesting one. In the CBS Ghosts, Trevor was like using dating apps, which I thought was quite an interesting thing. But I just think it's all a bit, this is supposed to be just a comedy show. It's not supposed to like break your heart in the process. There is the theory that both Mike and Alison will die in like a tragic freak accident or something to do with the house, because obviously the house has been through a lot. There's been a lot of issues with it, like with the fire and just like Mike getting stuck on the roof. They're very clumsy people and bad things seem to like gravitate towards them. So there is a theory that both of them will die like a tragic death and both of them will become a ghost, which I think that might be a quite nice way to end it. It would be sad, but at least you'll just live with the fact that Alison and Mike and all these ghosts are just going to be living, like just getting up to mischief for eternity, which is quite a nice way to end it. So yeah, that's quite nice. And it would kind of leave it, so it would give us closure, but kind of leave it open-ended. But those are just some heartbreaking little theories that they could do and how they could end the series. Obviously, I think it is going to be a slightly emotional ending because they are dealing with death, which is always going to have emotional things. I feel like they will hand it delicately because they have, even though, the ghosts have died in pretty gruesome ways, but they do handle kind of like the emotional side of it very well. So yes, I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's going to be emotional either way. Some other things that we might see and I hope we see in series 5 is we will find out hopefully about Captain's death and Kitty's death, because those are the only two ghosts where we haven't got kind of like a definitive answer of how they died. So the main theories surrounding the captain are that he intentionally dies. I don't think I can say the word on YouTube, but I think you know what I mean. I don't want that to be the case. I think that would be truly, truly heartbreaking. What I have seen people speculate on the fact that he could have died of a broken heart. I would prefer that one. I think that's quite a sad but sweet theory. And again, it's for somebody, I think it'd be quite a nice juxtaposition because his character is so quite strict and impersonal sometimes, like with the demeanour he's got, that dying is something so personal and something like that would be really nice. Like maybe it's not like of a broken heart, but like a heart attack after like something very emotional happens. There is a theory that the captain just dies of like natural causes, which he's kind of like embarrassed about to share because everybody has had such a big moment, and being a war like captain, something that he would, you kind of got the idea of like you die in battle, you die with glory and honour, and he might just not have had that, and that's why he doesn't kind of share what happened to him. And I think it's a good theory. I think it's plausible, but I just think we've got this kind of pattern about the ghosts dying. Their deaths are caused directly or indirectly by a person. It just doesn't really fit that pattern that we've got, but I think it is quite an interesting theory. Like maybe there is something that he just isn't telling about his death. Maybe it is linked to something to do with his sexuality or a a relationship that he had or something like that. He obviously has some like internalized shame, which might also play into shame about his death as well. He doesn't have any visual injuries, so I don't really see him too much being hit by something, because that would leave an injury, you would think, even if it's just small, like Thomas's like blood stain. Whereas we don't have that with the captain, so I don't necessarily see that happening. Well, maybe so that something that might be quite interesting is maybe if it was like something like mustard gas or something like that. I don't think it kills people, but he could have died of like complications to do with that. There is a theory that it's got something to do with like his knees. He's got like creaky knees and he talks about like hernias and stuff, so maybe there could be a death that's led from a complication to that, which again would be something that people would find like embarrassing. So there's lots of theories there. People have also talked about the idea that he died protecting like a bomb, like he did when the Project William was uncovered. So there is that theory, which I think is quite good. I think it would link to things that we've seen happen with the other ghosts. Robin going out and like catching the lightning, and that is exactly how his character died. So the captain leaping onto a bomb, to protect everybody else would make sense, and I think would be a very nice story for the captain. Again, I do kind of see him bragging about that though and being very proud of it, so maybe he accidentally let something off or something like that then caused him to have to sacrifice himself. So that's maybe why he doesn't talk about it. So yeah, there's lots of interesting theories with the captain, and I think his is just the mystery, because we don't know, I just think his is really difficult to work out, because we've just got no context clues really whatsoever, apart from the fact that he's a soldier. So yeah, there's lots of things that it could be, but I don't have a favourite theory, I don't think. Actually, I quite like the broken heart one, just because I think that would be quite a nice one. There is also that interesting theory about it's kind of being linked to his brain in some way, because there's the crack in the mirror, and apparently his buttons are his badges are the wrong way around or something like that. It's really interesting mirror theories. The fact that he can't remember his name, and is embarrassed to say that he can't remember his name. Another theory with Captain is that maybe he accidentally K-worded himself, with the fact that it was with a cyanide pill, because they were used you'd kind of have one in your tooth or something, or have one just ready there, and that if you were ever taken as a prisoner of war, maybe he had some really important secrets, he worked on stuff with the Project William, so maybe he accidentally let it off, or forgot it was there or something. So that would be, quite an embarrassing way to go, accidentally letting off a cyanide pill in your mouth. So that I think is I actually quite like that theory. I think that's quite an interesting one. Apparently he does have medals that would have been given to him after the war. Some people think that he died during the medal being awarded to him. Yeah, I quite like the cyanide pill theory, but accidentally doing the cyanide pill in his mouth, I don't that would just make it more sad if he did it purposefully. I don't think I could handle that. So yeah, there's lots of interesting things with the captain. There is also Kitty that we haven't had a death story for yet. My biggest theories, I've got two, and they both relate to her sister, which is not a surprise. I definitely think she has something to do with it, whether directly or indirectly. The one theory is that she died being poisoned. This I think is pretty strong, because she threw up something in one episode, and if we've seen from Thomas, his letter keeps going back into his pocket, and when they did the panto and her shoe kept getting back onto her foot, they remain in the exact state as how they died. So if there was vomit in her stomach, then that kind of implies that maybe she died of something that would have caused her to vomit, which could be poison. So I definitely think that is a very, very strong theory, and they've definitely emphasised the fact that her sister bullied her
mercilessly throughout their childhood and early adult life, so I definitely feel like she had something to do with it. The other theory is that the other big theory is that she died while playing a game of hide and seek, because she is always obsessing over hide and seek, and she put herself somewhere, and either it was an accident that she got trapped in there, or her sister deliberately trapped her in there and caused her to die that way. Both horrible theories, horrible, sad. They're good theories, but yeah, quite heartbreaking ones. And there is also just the theory that maybe she just accidentally ate something. So yeah, there's lots of theories to do with Kitty as well, but those are the two main ones, and I definitely think it's going to be one of the two. Whereas with the captain, we've just got loads of little theories, and I can't decide on any of them. But yeah, Kitty has got two very, very strong theories. I have done full videos just going through all the different theories for all the different ghosts, and definitely look in the comments of those videos as well, because everybody has just so many cool theories. There are a bunch of theories, and I think it's going to end really, really well, because every episode that they've done so far has been amazing. So they're going to put so much thought and love into the finale that I think it's going to be wonderful, whichever way they try to do it. So if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like. It really helps the channel, and comment down below your theories on how ghosts will end. If there's loads of theories that I haven't even thought of, I might do a follow-up video just discussing them. So yeah, leave how you think it will end in the comments below, and subscribe if you want to see more videos to do with ghosts, because I will keep doing videos on ghosts even after the series ends. So there'll be loads of videos to do with ghosts on my channel soon, so definitely subscribe if that's your sort of thing. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.